What people don't realize, and this is where it comes into functions more so with the two of you guys with cerebral palsy, is what I'm talking about is how to transfer weight. So when a body goes from this position over onto that hand, just this little movement here creates a transfer of weight. Your weight should shift. Now, if you just sitting and just move just a little bit on your tush, you can feel that transfer. This is something that doesn't start to establish or set up with most kids with special needs. That's where you see the flailing, the arched back, all of that, because they don't know how to just shift their weight. So what happens is most therapists come into the house and say, we need to work on core, we need to work on muscle. Well, no offense, 2 of your kids have enough muscles to,
Right.
play tug of war.
Exactly.
So it's not about muscles, it's about use of the system. So one of the things that I'm really working on, and that it's just a passion of mine, is again the same thing. As the hand transfers or pushes through, how it transfers over. And you really can kind of see how the human body is much more mechanical and physics-based than we give it credit for, just off the bones. So it looks like if I go in a nice little movement, it's sort of like a choo-choo train. You can see that, going back and forth, that transfer. Well, that transfer gets more complex, going into a cartwheel, a handstand. This is where people start finding abnormalities with that. So to worry about muscle function, you really have to work with the skeletal function, and it's a very fine touch, either through the lower arms. Now this is where Frank's a little bit harder to work with. So I'm pushing through the base of the elbow into the back of the shoulders to work this function. So I'm getting sort of like a push me, pull me kind of effect with my touch as I work through here. Now I always work with that rotation, so instead of just left, right, that's a much more mechanical. With the rotation, you can automatically see how the ulna and the radius now work around the wrist function just by that touch. So see, if I just push through, the hand kind of slides and you don't see the pressure points. If I just rotate, see already the difference in how the ulna and the radius present into the wrist cavity.
And also the humerus and the lemma at the shoulder.
Yeah. But see, if I just push through, see how that learning is not there? But again, that rotation, this is where Frank is not as obvious, but even just how it gets reflected into the pelvis, just that difference in that rotation. So now something like this can also be done, this is where Frank's a little bit springy. If a typical person, the chest cavity would be a tad softer, being able to bring the elbow to the bed. Now this starts to deteriorate as we age. Like some people will lay on my table and the elbow is literally up here. The elbow can't present to the table. So for that person, and this is where again, where you're going to see where Bentley and Gideon have that function too. You can't just turn around and put them there because as you can see, Frank's doing a face plant. So here you would be on the inside of the elbow and working on the rotation through that. Now with that, this is where Frank's a little funky because he doesn't like to keep his hand on the ground. But you can see though how the ulna and the radius present again with that, how the wrist takes to the floor. Because that whole wrist function, see, should be able to rotate all around the shoulder and through the elbow.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's like getting up from a table or pushing,
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's also driving a car.
Yeah,
If I have my hand presented on the steering wheel, I need that function to be there. But this first function actually comes when you nurse. The baby actually should play with your breast tissue. And that's the first time this kind of system starts to set up. So when you bypass nursing, or because nursing is compromised due to the condition of the child, that's almost when, I don't want to like nurse with Frank, but that's almost where
Come on, Michelle. For science.
I can put I can put his hand more on my face, but I can work with that, just that initial transfer of weight through my face. Because also what I think you'll find interesting, do you notice that when the kids touch your face, that's when the fingers want to come out? Have you noticed that even with CP? For some reason, when they're going after mom's face and stuff, there's more way, no, or the hands usually want to come out more so than when they're going for an object. Because
definitely
White knuckles it all the time. See, he's pretty loose.
This is
Yeah,
usually
like you can see pressure all the time with Bentley.
yeah, but this is another way to start thinking about it, where he's feeling the contact, but see how he's transferring, and even by me rotating my head makes Frank's, Frank got my hair big time.
Oh,
Frank.
just like a little kid, just like a kid.
Just like a kid, yeah. But that transfer, even with me rotating my face, makes him rotate through the shoulder girdle. And I won't do this with Joanne and stuff, but I'll show you this more so with the kids. But here too, I can take his hand and present also. It's so different than doing this. See how this is not teaching the function through the system versus here. So, and then this can start going into, even if this was an object, where you're holding an object, the thought of just transferring the weight over into the hand this way versus just somehow sticking, an object into the hand. So as they get, again, bigger, I can be here. I mean, there's a lot of ways of skinning a cat.
Okay, don't worry. It's expression.
I still wish, I need to mark my videos better, but I'm working on Max and I'm like, that's such a pretty boy. I swear to God, it didn't even come out of my mouth, and he screamed bloody murder. And so I brought it up again, and yeah, no, don't call a kid pretty boy. He does not like that. And this is dancing. I mean, these are all very easy movements, but I can live. So if I'm here, okay, we're working on, let's say, eating or self-serving with utensils. I can be working here with that, but also I can come in underneath the jaw. So I'm underneath the jaw here like this. So he's getting the pressure. This is kind of similar to what I do with the eye hand with the vision, where I'll have an object in the eyes, but I have something in the hands down here, even though so that the brain's getting that, I can see it, but I'm touching it too.
Right.
Almost like, well, you can sit here and work underneath the jaw in feeding and stuff and under the tongue, and the hand touching my elbow this way. So it eventually would be a utensil coming through the mouth. But again, where you're giving more of those life skills to the system without even knowing it.
I can never get his hand out of locking, his elbow out of locking.
Well, that's what I'm going to be working on, because that's where you think it's the muscle base. But if you start working on the actual transferring of the weight from the hand to because since he doesn't know how to transfer, he's just locking, because that's what stabilizes his balance.
Yeah. I always remember how you explain about when you get older, you're grabbing the floor, but yet you want to stand up. It's an opposite movement.
Right.
So it locks you.
Right. Same thing, you'll see people that are older, they put their hand on their leg, trying to pull the other leg up to put their shoe on. It's just one hand's going into standing and the other one's putting.
Not gonna happen.
So again, here, you can do it where the transferring weight is here, where I'm on the system, and again, pushing into the chest, because that's another thing the kids don't learn, is that relationship of self. And then eventually, like I said, we're here at the shoulder. You can put a little bit of a toy here, a chocolate, you know what I mean, and play with the mouth, those kind of functions. So you're just adding in a lot of life skills. You can come here and do the hair. You can do the hair, I'm around here, the face, you're learning your proportions. This goes back to Vitruvian Man. So there's a lot of different relationships we're going to talk about with the shoulder and the arm in this position.